At a busy construction site, workers were digging deep into the ground when their shovels hit something strange. As they cleared the dirt, they saw what looked like a coffin covered in thick chains. Curious, one of the workers smashed the chains open. But the moment the last chain broke, the coffin shook from inside. A thick, strange smoke poured out and something shot out of the coffin and into the air. Before anyone could understand what was happening, the workers began to disappear one by one, snatched by the creature that had escaped. Screams filled the site as the creature hunted them down, leaving no one safe. The last worker crawled for his life, but the creature caught him fast. To his horror, he saw that the creature was actually a human, a man with cold, hungry eyes. As the worker struggled, the man leaned in close and said he was very thirsty.
You cannot imagine how thirsty I am.
Then began to drink his blood. The story began in 1760. The renowned Collins family left Liverpool and sailed across the ocean to Maine, New England, chasing a dream of wealth and power. With hard work, they built a booming fishing business that turned a quiet coastline into the busy town of Collinsport and raised a grand mansion called Collinwood. Even as their riches grew, the head of the family reminded his son, Barnabas Collins, that family must always come first. But as Barnabas grew older, he turned away from his father's lessons. He began a secret affair with Angelique, one of the family's servants. Angelique wanted his love.
Let me hear you say I love you, Angelique. I want you.
But Barnabas cared only for the thrill of doing it. What he never saw coming was that Angelique was a witch. When Barnabas broke her heart, Angelique's pain twisted into rage. She cursed his family, and soon his parents were dead in a strange and sudden accident. The town was filled with whispers, and Barnabas was filled with questions. He turned to the study of dark magic, desperate to understand what had taken his family from him. Yet even in sorrow, he found love. Barnabas met Josette Dupré, and for the first time, Barnabas felt whole again, and they planned a future together. Angelique, watching from the shadows, was consumed with jealousy. She cast another spell, one crueler than the last, and it drove Josette to the edge of the cliffs. By the time Barnabas arrived, she was already stepping into the sea air. He watched helplessly as she plunged to her death. Barnabas was shattered and he leaped after her, hoping to escape his pain. But Angelique's curse was not done. It turned Barnabas into a vampire so that his suffering would never end. With cold determination, she turned the people of Collinsport against him, feeding them the story of the monster in their midst. The villagers who were once his friends formed an angry mob. Together they captured Barnabas, sealed him in a coffin, and buried him deep in the forest, leaving him to face endless darkness alone and forever. Years passed, and in 1972 a young woman named Victoria Winters rode a train toward Collinsport. She looked exactly like Josette, though Victoria knew nothing about her. She was heading to the old Collins estate because she had seen an ad in the paper saying the family needed a governess. Victoria was also running from her own past, hiding her real identity and hoping no one would ask too many questions. When Victoria arrived at the huge, crumbling mansion, she was met by Willie Loomis, the nervous caretaker. He joked that the place should have 100 servants, but these days it was just him and Mrs. Johnson trying to keep the dust and gloom under control. Soon, Elizabeth Collins, the strict but graceful matriarch, appeared and pulled Victoria aside. Elizabeth explained the job, warning her that only 7 people lived in the mansion now and that whole wings of the house had been shut up for years, as if they were hiding ghosts behind the doors. Elizabeth threw a few sharp questions at Victoria, expecting polite answers, but Victoria gave them right back with some attitude, which surprised Elizabeth and in a strange way made her like the girl. By the end of the talk, Elizabeth decided to hire her. That night at dinner, Victoria met the whole strange family. There was Elizabeth's brother Roger, a lazy man who spent most of his time avoiding responsibility. Carolyn, Elizabeth's teenage daughter who was wild and rebellious, eager to break the rules. Roger's son David, quiet and troubled, believed he could still see the ghost of his dead mother, who had passed when he was 5. And then there was Dr. Julia Hoffman, the family psychiatrist who was supposed to help David, but spent most of her time drinking away her own problems. Victoria felt drawn to David right away and comforted him by saying she believed in ghosts too, but that comment made Elizabeth tense and uneasy. Later that night, as Victoria got ready for bed, a chill filled the hallway. She looked up and saw Josette's ghost floating near the foyer. The ghost circled the chandelier as if dancing with some terrible memory and kept whispering that someone was coming. And then, just like she did a long time ago, Josette's spirit fell as if from a cliff, vanishing into thin air and leaving Victoria shaken and alone. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, a construction crew digging up ground for a new McDonald's uncovered something no one expected, a massive coffin bound in chains. Curious and careless, they pried it open, and Barnabas Collins was set free. Starving from centuries trapped underground, Barnabas turned on the workers without mercy, draining every last one of them. When it was over, he stumbled back, gazing at the bright McDonald's sign glowing in the night.
Mephistopheles.
Covered in blood and dazed by the strange modern world, Barnabas made his way on foot to the mansion, watching cars rush past and staring at electric lights and strange clothes, struggling to understand this new time. When he reached Collinwood, he found Willie outside in the garden. With just his hands, Barnabas used his vampire powers to hypnotize the man, pulling every bit of information he needed from him and making Willie his loyal servant. Inside, Barnabas tried to introduce himself to the children, but Elizabeth quickly stepped in, pulling him aside with suspicion in her eyes. She told him she did not believe in the old stories, that magic and curses were nothing but myths. But Barnabas was ready. With calm confidence, he led Elizabeth to a hidden room in the mansion that even she had never seen before and revealed treasures people thought disappeared years ago. Promising to restore the family's lost glory, Barnabas won Elizabeth's cautious trust, but only on one condition. Elizabeth made him swear never to reveal his true nature as a vampire, a promise he quietly accepted. The next morning at breakfast, Elizabeth introduced Barnabas to everyone as Barnabas III, a distant cousin from England, and then introduced him to Dr. Julia Hoffman. As the family gathered around the table, they started talking business, and Barnabas quickly learned just how bad things had gotten. The once powerful Collins fishing empire was gone, wiped off the map, and now the entire area was controlled by Angel Bay Seafood. The name stung Barnabas, and at that very moment, Victoria walked into the room. He could not help himself. He found his eyes locked on her, fascinated, because she looked so much like Gisette, the love he had lost long ago. Back in town, Angelique was still very much alive, now going by the name Angie Bochard. She had reinvented herself as the fierce and successful CEO of Angel Bay Seafood, the company that crushed the Collins family. When her workers reported the strange accident in the woods, Angelique rushed over to check it out for herself, and the sight of the broken coffin nearly knocked the breath out of her. She wasted no time and drove straight to Collinwood, storming inside to trade sharp words with Elizabeth before Barnabas pulled her aside. Once they were alone, Angelique kissed him without warning, and with a twisted smile on her face told him how she had turned Collinsport into her kingdom. The fishing empire she built was no accident, because she had done it all to ruin the Collins family. And now the townspeople adored her and barely even remembered Barnabas. She laughed as she left, knowing he could do nothing to stop her. Shaken, Barnabas turned to Elizabeth, pouring out his fears, but Elizabeth reminded him of who he was. She told him that in the past, no matter how bad things got, Barnabas fought so hard they had to lock him in a coffin to stop him. Now his family needed that same fire from him, and he should not back down. Fired up by her words, Barnabas sprang into action. He sold some of the treasure hidden in the secret room and poured the money into hiring workers to fix up the mansion and rebuild the family business. Even with the sun threatening to burn his vampire skin, Barnabas refused to stay in the shadows. With a wide umbrella, dark sunglasses, and a big hat, he managed to walk around town during the day, though finding a decent place to sleep was another problem. In the end, he ordered the servants to bring him his old coffin, the only bed where he truly felt at rest. As the Collins company slowly came back to life, Barnabas used his vampire powers to hypnotize the fishing captains working for Angelique, turning them over to his side. Between learning how to use modern technology and spending time with Victoria, Barnabas began to feel a spark of hope again. But peace did not last long. One evening, Roger caught Barnabas sneaking out of the secret room with treasure in hand, and soon after, Julia cornered Barnabas, convinced something was off about him. Pretending to help, she lured him into her office and hypnotized him, pulling the truth right out of him. Stunned by what she learned, Julia stormed off to confront Elizabeth, furious that this secret had been kept from the family. But Elizabeth was ready. She calmly convinced Julia to hold her tongue, pointing out that Julia, as a scientist, should be fascinated by Barnabas, not afraid. And Julia was. Her anger melted into curiosity, and by the end of the night, Julia agreed. Barnabas would stay, and she would study him, eager to unlock the mysteries of a living vampire under her roof. After some time, Barnabas, feeling completely lost in the modern world of love, turns to Carolyn for advice on how to win over women today. Carolyn, shaking her head at his old school manners, tells him to drop the stiff, formal attitude and hang out with cool people. So, eager to prove himself, Barnabas ends up sitting in a hippie circle deep in the forest, laughing, sharing stories, and even trying a little smoke with them. But underneath that charming smile, he was super hungry. And after the girls explain that love matters more than money, Barnabas gives in to his true nature and feeds on them all, leaving the clearing empty and cold by dawn. Meanwhile, Barnabas and Victoria spend more and more time together, their bond growing over their talks about the supernatural. But this happiness does not go unnoticed. Angelique, furious that the Collins family is rising again, rages at her board of directors. The board doesn't get why she's so upset. After all, Angel Bay Seafood still rules 95% of the market, but for Angelique it was personal. She is determined to crush the Collins family. Without wasting time, She arranges a private meeting with Barnabas and offers to buy his company. Barnabas firmly refuses, but Angelique's smile turns sharp as she warns him she wants his love, and if she cannot have it, Victoria will die. Cornered, Barnabas gives in and sleeps with her on a wild, destructive night that leaves the office in ruins. But as the sun rises, he regrets the night and tells Angelique he cannot be with her, leaving her no choice but to destroy him.
If I can't have you, my love, I'll destroy you.
The next morning, Barnabas went to Julia with a strange request. He wanted her to take out all the blood from his body and fill him with human blood instead. He believed this might change him back into a human. Julia didn't hesitate and agreed. The very next day, they got to work. They set up the lab and began running strange experiments on him, hoping something would finally bring Barnabas back to life as a real human. Meanwhile, Victoria begins having unsettling dreams of Josette's ghost from her childhood, mixed with flashes of her time in an asylum where she was locked away for talking about ghosts. One night, Josette's ghost appears again, whispering that she needs Victoria's help, and then vanishes into the shadows. During breakfast, Barnabas makes a bold announcement. He wants to throw a ball for the whole town to remind everyone that the Collins family still reigns. Carolyn laughs and tells him that nobody throws
balls anymore, stupid. They throw happenings.
and gives him tips on how to plan a modern party. When the night arrives, Carolyn is shocked to see Barnabas kept his word and even booked Alice Cooper to perform Lev at the mansion. Barnabas, not a fan of the loud music, slips away for a walk and soon finds young David standing watch in the coach room. David explains his father asked him to cover for a bit and keep people out, but Barnabas sends him away and climbs the wall to peek inside. What he sees makes him disgusted. Roger is inside, fooling around with the employee and stealing wallets from the guests' coats. Barnabas keeps this dark secret to himself and heads out to the balcony. There, he meets Victoria and the air between them shifts. Victoria opens up, telling Barnabas she knows how he feels about her, and she feels safe around him, like she has known him forever. She confesses she has always felt drawn to Collinwood. When Barnabas leans in to kiss her, she hesitates, overwhelmed because it is the first time someone she loves her back. She briefly shares how Josette's ghost helped her escape the asylum and find the ad for the governess job, which led her to the mansion. As she finishes, Victoria finally kisses Barnabas. But at that moment, Angelique has arrived at the party and she watches them from the shadows, pissing her off. The next morning, Barnabas rushes to see Julia, desperate to speed up the plan to make him human so he can finally be with Victoria. But when he steps into her lab, what he sees freezes him. Julia's not helping him at all. She is pumping his vampire blood straight into her own veins. Turns out, she never cared about curing him. All she ever wanted was to make herself immortal. Furious and heartbroken, Barnabas grabs her, sinks his fangs into her neck, and kills her without even noticing that in doing so, her fangs are starting to grow too. Shaken but determined, Barnabas asks Willie to help him load Julia's body onto a boat. They sail into the middle of the sea, tie a brick to her, and drop her overboard, watching her vanish beneath the waves. But there is no time to rest. When Barnabas gets back, he catches Roger sneaking around the mansion, trying to break into the secret room with the treasure. Barnabas corners him and offers a choice. He can either step up and become the father David deserves, or he can take a big pile of money and leave forever. Without much hesitation, Roger grabs the money and walks away, breaking David's heart into pieces. The poor kid runs to his room just as Willie is up on a ladder disconnecting the disco ball from the ceiling, and it nearly crashes down on David's head. Barnabas, moving faster than any human could, dives in and saves him. But in doing so, he ends up standing in a patch of sunlight that instantly starts burning his clothes. Now the whole family knows that he is a vampire. Horrified, David and Victoria run from him, their trust shattered. Feeling desperate and cornered, Barnabas goes to Angelique and pleads with her to lift the curse. But Angelique doesn't care at all and refuses, even making him confess that he killed Julia. Then, with a twisted smile, she makes him an offer. They can rule the fishing empire side by side as lovers and business partners, or she will lock him back in the coffin. Barnabas snarls at her and tells her to burn in hell, but before he can escape, Angelique's men are already waiting on the other side of the door, dragging out a coffin. Angelique shoves him inside, chains it shut, and loads it into a van headed for the cemetery. As if that weren't enough, Angelique throws in one last brutal blow. With words of witchcraft, she makes the Collins Company building explode in flames. The coffin is dumped and abandoned inside a dark mausoleum, but hope is not gone yet. David, following a clue from his mother's ghost, finds the coffin moments later. Back in town, chaos has broken loose. The townspeople gather in shock as police and firefighters battle the blaze, and Angelique steps forward like the star of the show. She plays a recording of Barnabas confessing to Julia's murder, using it to turn the entire town against the Collins family. The angry mob, the cops, and Angelique all storm up to Collinwood just as Barnabas gets there too. Barnabas is ready to surrender as long as they leave his family alone, but he demands they take Angelique down with him. Without wasting time, Barnabas grabs Angelique and bites her, making her skin crack and exposing her as a monster to everyone. Seeing this, the sheriff quickly orders the crowd to leave. The real fight explodes when Barnabas goes after Angelique with Elizabeth's shotgun and Carolyn, who shocks everyone by revealing she is a werewolf. But even with all their strength, they are no match for a witch like Angelique, especially when she uses magic to make the house itself attack its own family. As she tortures them one by one, Angelique laughs and spills every dark secret. She admits she was the one who killed Barnabas's parents, she caused David's mother's death, and she even cursed baby Carolyn by sending a werewolf to bite her in the crib. She has been the nightmare behind this family's misery all along. Suddenly, young David steps forward, and with the help of his mother's ghost, he slams Angelique across the room. She crashes into the chandelier, and it smashes down onto her, finally killing her. As the family races out of the burning mansion, Barnabas kneels beside Angelique one last time. The witch rips her own heart from her chest and offers it to him, but it crumbles into dust in her hands as she dies. Barnabas quickly realizes Victoria is missing, and David's mother's ghost tells him she is at the cliff. While the family watches their home collapse, Barnabas races to the cliffs to stop Victoria, but Victoria has already made up her mind. She tells him they can never be together because she is just a human living in the light, while Barnabas is trapped in the shadows forever. Heartbroken, Victoria jumps, but this time, Barnabas does not let history repeat itself. He leaps after her, catching her mid-fall and biting her before she hits the rocks below, turning her into a vampire like him. Now they are both immortal, bound together forever. At the bottom of the ocean, they share a kiss as the waves crash over them.